idea for all this really came from a dream?
Yes, it did.
Good evening and welcome to Nox Mente. Tonight's guest is Heather Taddy. Heather's noticeable enthusiasm for the odd and unknown landed her a role as a field investigator and documentarian on 4 seasons of A&E's Paranormal State. Now she searches for evidence of extraterrestrials with Chuck Zukowski on Travel Channel's Destination America. She shares her inspiration to seek out the paranormal, her scariest encounter with a dark spirit, and her views on modern paranormal investigation. She's also a member of Glowworm, a Pittsburgh-based punk rock band. Heather, welcome to the show.
Hello, you guys. Thanks for having
Oh,
me.
thanks for coming on.
Yay, welcome aboard, Heather.
This is definitely going to be the most interesting podcast I've ever done.
Yes, it will.
The woo. Bring in the woo. And, well, that's saying something because you're already like deeply out there in the woo anyway with your...
Yeah, I sure am.
With the Zukowskis.
What, Jer?
With the Zukowskis.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So this is great. And so I just found out as we were talking, you're in Pittsburgh. Is it cold as hell right now?
It's been around like 40, 43 degrees.
So that's not cold for Pittsburgh. That's like that's kind of our low here.
Okay. Yeah. I'm used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, thick skin. I'm from Iowa, so I understand cold, but once you are gone out of the cold for a while, it feels like
You get soft.
it's a whole new situation after a couple of years.
I'm from Chicago, and when I go home, it's crazy cold.
Yeah. Oh God, Chicago is no joke.
Mm.
So let's just jump right into this. Okay, Heather.
Yes.
Getting our serious voices on. So take us back to when you were very young, like the earliest memories you have in your life of stuff that influenced you. So it could be pop culture, like cartoons or movies, just things that as far back as you remember that still there in your memory.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, she cuts out sometimes.
Oh, okay. I would have to say that my number one influence that comes to mind is Pee-wee's Playhouse, especially when it comes to my dreaming and my creativity. That definitely had an influence on me as a child. Same with like old Ren and Stimpy episodes and Tales from the Crypt. Those are things that I automatically just have really early memories of watching in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Space madness.
Yeah. And of course, when MTV was really cool in the early 90s and, they played music videos and they had those little animated, like little interludes between commercials that were very vivid and just really wacky. Those are things that have always inspired me, and definitely music videos because I'm really into music. And just the imagery that goes along with certain music, it's always really sparked creativity and things with me.
That's what's great still with music videos, which when I was in school, we were learning digital arts and stuff. They call it time arts, but you can go so far out and tell such great, weird strangeness through just a 3-minute segment with a song. I don't know. I love them too. I'm with you on the music videos and how influential they were. And
and there's
still
so
are.
many like images you don't forget. Like, for example, one that just came to my mind, and I think it was Faith No More's Epic video. The image of the fish out of the water.
Yes.
Like that's something like I'll never forget. I'll never forget that room they were jumping around in. It just always sticks with me.
Yeah, it's the power of symbols, which is exactly, that's what we talk about here. And that's where video, when you're looking at very short amounts of time to tell a story, symbols do the job. And they do it in a better way, I think, sometimes in long drawn out, dialogues with less symbolic factor.
And also, when it comes to music videos, do you guys remember the Robert Palmer music videos where he always had those women in the background?
The identical women.
Iconic. Yeah.
Very iconic.
That stuff, and how sexy all that was too. Like, I always wanted to
Uh-huh.
be one of those women. I wanted to be slinging that bass.
And how weird when
Yeah,
he
right?
died young.
What? Robert Palmer's dead?
Oh, been long dead.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. Oh, shit. Ay, ay, ay. I didn't know that. This is like a Mandela effect for me.
Died in 2003.
Oh.
Jesus.
Hmm.
Okay, that's news to me. So, back here in your early life, do you have a relationship with nature at all?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I grew up in central Pennsylvania in a little place called Altoona, which was like 30 miles from Penn State University. So I grew up with woods in my backyard. I had a clubhouse and my friends. I was always in the woods, like nailing boards to trees or trying to climb trees and things like that. So I definitely have a relationship with nature. I always have since I was very, very young.
Were you out there building forts?
I didn't build forts. I remember, oh, what did I do? I remember there was a creek in the back of my yard, and my friends and I would try to get these long boards to create like little walkways. And then I
Yes.
also remember I loved for some reason being able to nail boards to trees. I thought that made me feel really cool as a kid and like trying to climb them and like, looking over the trees at the neighbors and stuff.
Oh, man, that's like one step towards a fort, though.
Yeah, I wasn't that cool enough to build a fort, but maybe today I could.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. What about okay, so back here in your early life too, did you well, first of all, were you raised religious at all? What kind of religion was going on for you?
Um, I was raised Catholic. I did go to Sunday school, and my parents, they didn't really push church on me. We went like maybe around the holidays. We went. It wasn't something that I did every Sunday, but I did go to Sunday school, and it was okay. I dropped out before I got confirmed,
Mhm.
but I have like bits and pieces of memories of being in Sunday school.
Yeah. And so like those memories, do how do they feel when you look back at them? What's the mood?
Um, it didn't all really click with me, sitting in those rooms and hearing about, everything in the Bible. It never really like clicked with me. I was always just like, how do these people know this information? Like, where is this coming from? So I think on my mind, I was thinking about, I'm missing the cartoons right now, the Saturday morning cartoons. Like, I need to get out of here. So I think I was just kind of miserable way. But now when I think about it, it would have been beneficial for me to pay more attention in Sunday school, I think.
I like this idea that young you was questioning your
Yes.
reality and
Hmm.
why narratives around you. That says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that a lot.
Did so also back there with young you, did you have, all the fears that some kids have, like under the bed or in the dark in the closet? Did you have any of those kinds of
I had no fear when it came to being in the dark. I actually liked being in the dark, and I hated every time I woke up in the morning and the sun would shine in my room and there would be like light. So I remember specifically putting like black paper over my windows and putting blankets up so that the light wouldn't come in because when I woke up in the morning, it really bothered me.
Yeah.
So that's something I remember, but I never had a fear of the dark. I never thought anything was under my bed or in my closet. Um, I do remember though, I moved around a lot in my sleep. I would roll around so much that my mom had to get this like metal bar that slid under my mattress so that I wouldn't roll out of my bed because there were several times when I would roll out of my bed and like smack my face off of my dresser.
Oh, man. Oh, jeez.
So that would happen. But as far as fears as a child, one that really sticks out to me, I was definitely afraid of snakes.
Mm.
Because like I said, I grew up in the woods and I always had these encounters with these giant snakes. And I'm sure, looking back, they're harmless snakes now, but when I was young, there was this specific snake. It was black and it had these golden rings around it. And I'll just never forget it would hide. You could see its body when you looked down over the step going down onto my porch. There was like a little like gap, and you could just see its body. And I remember always being deathly afraid. And like before I would walk outside, I would just look down and make sure it wasn't there. And then so every time I'd go to bed, I'd have to check my bed because I had this fear that the snake was going to be in my house.
Yeah.
And one time my brother, he had his room in the basement, and we had this porch door that sometimes we'd leave open. And I'll never forget this. One day I was sitting on my coffee table in my parents' living room. I was eating a fruit roll up and I was watching a Metallica music video. And from down the stairs, I hear my brother going, Heather, come downstairs. So I went downstairs, and the snake was in the corner of the basement.
Oh,
And we were both like
jeez.
freaking out because it was huge. So we killed it, and we threw it outside. And then I have this image in my head. I can remember this like it was yesterday. I was standing in my bathroom, and I looked out the window, and my parents had a burn pile, and my dad burned the snake, and he had this big, like this platform of wood, and you could just see the snake's body on it burning. And I just
Oh,
watched it through
man.
the window.
Ooh, now talk about symbols, powerful
Yeah.
images. That's
Yes.
fierce.
Yeah.
When it was burning, did it move? Because it's all muscle.
No, I don't have memories of it moving at all, but
That
it
would
freaked
have,
me out.
yeah, that would have added to the freak factor.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't like snakes. And there were other incidences where I remember this one time I was probably like 5 or 6, and I was, jumping around in the front yard waiting for my mom because we were going to go to the bank or something. And as I was standing there, this truck of people went past, and they're like, "Don't go any closer. Don't go any closer." And I looked over, and I was about to walk to where this gigantic snake was. And these
Oh,
guys,
man.
like, they got it, and they saved my life.
Do you have poisonous snakes out there?
We do. We have rattlesnakes because we're really close to mountains. So there's definitely rattlesnakes. Luckily, I've never had an encounter with one, but
Yeah.
there's rattlesnakes and copperheads,
Ooh, yeah.
which I saw one of those once. And I was in the woods, and I was skipping rocks with my friends, and we saw one and immediately like backed up and ran for it.
Yeah, they're no joke. No
No.
joke.
Oh,
Scary. I don't want to go out that way.
yeah.
So, all right, in this early phase, do you remember being a child that recalls your dreams? Do you remember dreaming a lot? How was all that happening?
Yes, I remember a lot of dreams that I had as a child because they were just so vivid and weird, and they never ever made sense. One dream that I know was definitely inspired by Pee-wee's Playhouse, and it was actually kind of scary, is I remember being a kid and having this reoccurring dream where I would walk in my kitchen, and it was kind of set up like a maze, and I would walk, and in the corner by the oven, that big eyeball in Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Yes.
There's like a giant eyeball. So that eyeball would be standing there, and it would be eating a bowl of macaroni and cheese. Like, why would I have that dream? Why? So that's one. Those are the kind of dreams that I had as a child. And then I remember I used to have nightmares where I was drowning in like a sea of root beer.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
That's I don't think I've ever heard of one quite like that. It's like a surrealist painting almost.
exactly. Yeah, my dreams are very surrealistic for sure.
Did you like root beer?
I did, yeah, as a kid. Yeah, I definitely liked root beer. So
What kind of mac and cheese was it? Was it like Kraft or?
I don't remember, but
Jerry?
I remember it. I mean, I would consider that a nightmare because I remember peering around the corner in my dream and just seeing this giant eyeball. And I think it was wearing a hat, but it was just like the one in Pee-wee's Playhouse. And as I got older, I got to thinking about it, and I thought that dream. That's the eye from Pee-wee's Playhouse. It has to be.
It's interesting. I wonder if you have experienced this throughout your life like if you eat too late, does it amp up your dreams or change the nature of them?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've always noticed that when I eat blueberries near bedtime, they definitely affect my dreams. Blueberries have an effect on my dreams for sure.
What kind of effect?
I just always notice that, like, if I eat blueberries before bed, my dreams are just really like weirder, and they
Ooh,
don't make sense. And I just wake up thinking, what in the world did I just experience?
ooh, I might have to give that a
You
try.
guys should try it.
I might get right on that train. That's awesome. So, okay, back here, I like all this, I like the nature of all this stuff is very surreal and fun around you. What
Hmm.
in general, dream dynamics here.
You cut
How
out.
do you
You cut
dream?
out.
Is it colors? Okay, am I back?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So, how do you generally dream? In color, sound, sight? Can you read? What are the dynamics of how you dream?
It seems like it's in color. I think one time I remember having a dream where everything was red, like I was seeing in red. As far as sounds go, it all seems very normal to me.
Are you able to what about like sensate stuff like smelling and touch?
No, I've never no. Oh, wait,
And
no, that's not true.
see?
Um, yeah, see, I've never thought about that before. I would say I can smell and touch. Yeah. Yeah, like smelling and touching, yeah.
And then also, do you encounter script? Are you able to read words at all?
Oh, I don't have any recollection of reading words or
Yeah.
seeing words in my dreams.
It's not super common. I don't hear a huge amount. And then a
Yeah.
lot of times I hear people will encounter, something with writing, like a book and it's glyphs. But some people can actually just read. I usually encounter glyphs. Uh, okay. And so also with this kind of architecture of the dream, are there places in your dream that you know and return to that even though they may change, it's like your house, even though it could be different every time, or a place you return to? Now, this is not reoccurring dreams. This is just familiar architecture.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely the house I grew up in, and also too, I tend to have dreams where I'm in a giant house and it's set up like a maze, and the house is usually always haunted, and I'm always looking for something. Which, I mean, that has to do with all my experiences with paranormal, I think. But definitely reoccurring where I'm in a haunted house and it's a maze. That usually happens a lot to me.
Even when you were young?
No, I would say it probably started in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so just because this is your field, one of your fields, you're multi-talented.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks.
when so give us a little bit of background with the paranormal in in your life. When did you first encounter some high strangeness so we can get a feel for where that all comes in?
Well, I started investigating on my own and with friends probably when I was like 13 or 14. But my interest in everything paranormal kind of goes back to around third grade. Uh, but I mean, I never grew up in a haunted house or anything, and everything pretty much started with using a Ouija board. My friends and I would have these nights where we would use the Ouija board. We'd take it to places that we thought were haunted. We'd break into places that we weren't supposed to be, and we would just have these Ouija board sessions in hopes that we would catch evidence. And I would always have a video camera filming, these sessions. And so I was always really fascinated with spiritualism and the Ouija board and trying to communicate with people who have passed on. So that happened early on. And then from there it just stemmed into me, going to college and trying to decide which clubs to join. I was going to twirl baton, or I was going to join the comedy club or the paranormal club or the French club. And out of all those, I decided to join the paranormal club, and that's how I ended up getting involved with Paranormal State.
Oh, that's super cool. That
Hmm.
that that came right out of a club. So in so with this early, so third grade's pretty early and it's always been part of it. And then So what I'm trying to tie in here is, so we've got you at 3rd grade doing really honing into other states, right? And realizing that there's more going on.
Yeah, and and the reason why I say 3rd grade is because I remember we got these book order things where you could order these books, and I would always order the alien and the paranormal books because they had all these books about alien abduction and just ghosts and spirits, and I was always really, really into that, and reading about it was always really fun to me, so I was always, like, the only person that would order these books, so my teacher would, of course, make fun of me and call me an alien, which, I just kinda went with because I was just always different. I was always very different from everybody and really unique.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I have very early memories of reading those books. I wish I still had them because they were really interesting books, and then, from there, probably more into high school, I got into reading about Ed and Lorraine's, Warren's famous cases.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh god, so juicy. I
Mhm.
think, did I see a photo with you with one of them? Noreen?
Yeah, so, Lorraine was on quite a few
Lorraine.
episodes
Yeah.
of Paranormal State, so we got to travel around with her, which was incredible because, a year or 2 before I joined the club, I was a college student, I went to see her speak, and I was just blown away by the photos that she showed and, like, all of her stories and her dedication to the field, and then little did I know, like, a year or 2 later, I'd be working with her and sitting with her and having tea and, like, hearing her stories and just being able to say that I know Lorraine Warren was really a trip for me.
That's real serendipity, and it's a beautiful thing. And plus, she trailblazed for women like you.
Mhm. Yeah, she definitely had an influence on me getting into the field, and she was a huge influence to PRS, the Penn State Paranormal Research Society, and how Ryan started it. I mean, Ed and Lorraine's work definitely inspired, um, the club to start.
Yeah, and just but plus also just on the woman front, I mean, she really is a trailblazer,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so there's always that factor. It's like she brought so much credibility to it. A lot of times it's there's definitely a scale tip with more towards the guys. So
Mhm.
I just like to recognize those trailblazing ladies out there too.
Yeah, she's super brave, for sure.
Oh my god, I can't imagine some of the stuff that y'all do.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm
it's
really
crazy.
open in all this, but some
Yeah.
things are scary, for real.
It's crazy too to just hear her calmly talk about, the time she was thrown 50 feet in the air because she was, in the woods of Connecticut next to this satanic idol. And it was, they found in the woods. Like it's really crazy. Like she kind of talks about it like it's nothing, when you'd hear her stories.
Jeez. Oh, man. Okay, so let's get a little bit into some dreams. Do you recall early, like, so back still back in, like, early days for you, do you
Mhm.
remember some of your, and just wherever you start remembering dreams, do you have any early dream images? And we got the eyeball one already, but
Yeah.
stuff that comes in maybe, all the way into puberty and that period.
Yeah, I remember having a dream about a leopard, and this leopard was perched on like a gigantic beach ball that was in like the Mediterranean Sea. And I remember I've always had a fascination with the ocean, and mostly because it's scary, but it's beautiful at the same time. Like just the thought of like what's in the ocean, what's on the ocean floor, and the fact that you could get so lost in the ocean. So I have a lot of dreams about the ocean too, but with this leopard, I remember its eye kept falling out and it would just bounce on the floor. And I had to take the leopard into the bathroom. And we stood in this giant mirror, and I'm helping this leopard put his eye back into his eye socket. Who has dreams like that? That's so weird. But that's one I can remember having early on.
How old do you think you were when that happened?
Oh, probably like 7 or 8.
That's great. That is
Yeah.
interesting imagery there. Did
Hmm.
you, when that dream was over, what was the feeling you had,
Um,
if you can recall?
Geez. I don't know if I can recall that. I'd probably say just the seeing the image of like the ocean waves with like a gigantic oversized beach ball and like a beautiful leopard. perched on this
Yeah.
ball and just floating in the ocean.
Yeah.
Uh, it's kind of surreal in a way, which a lot of the imagery in my dreams is very surreal and outrageous.
Yeah, yeah. I'm enjoying that. So let's perch here on the ocean for a minute. This is one of my favorite symbols in dreamland. So in the ocean, and you mentioned you have a lot of dreams with the ocean. Do,
Mhm.
so in the ocean and water, also just deep water, do you encounter in general over your lifetime of dreaming sea monsters or scary things in the water?
No, it's never like that for me. It's more so, I think one time I had a dream where I was exploring the ocean floor and I found like an old car or like something ridiculous, but it's never anything scary for me.
And so nothing with like sea leviathans or crazy big scary squid or any of that kind of
No.
stuff. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay, interesting. You just never know. Some of that stuff's really popping out a lot for people, and I think it's tied into like the Lovecraftian stuff coming to the
Uh,
surface more now.
Thomas Sheridan's all over that stuff, the Cthulhu stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just becoming so popular that it's creating. There's a lot happening within the dream realm. So back to your dreams. Give us a few oddball dreams from, just the first half of your life, the ones that stick out that are kind of strange and that are stranger than normal. Let me let me put it that way.
um, well, one that I remember having when I was probably in my early teens was I also have a fascination with hot air balloons, and that's another thing that appears in my dreams. Just anything weird in a hot air balloon in the sky. And I used to have a dream where this really, really nice British boy was in a hot air balloon, and he would always fly in my backyard, and he would land the balloon and get out, and he would come into my house and steal everybody's shoes. And then he would take all of the shoes and put them in this big log that was in the clubhouse that my friends and I made in the woods behind my house. Uh, I
That's
don't
a
know what that
goodie.
means, but
That's a
yeah,
goodie.
it's
Did
fun
he
though.
he appear in like modern times or was he more Victorian?
Um, I would say more Victorian.
This is my next question for you because I get a big not that I have seen anything that would suggest this with you, but I'm getting a big Victorian vibe with you. And so I'm just wondering like what your connection to the late 1800s up into the 1920s. So that's going through Edwardian and all that. But do you
Hmm.
have a connection to it?
Honestly, no,
It's interesting.
no.
I'm definitely getting that vibe off you. And then when you gave me this balloon dream. So, okay,
Huh.
so that's a cool one. Other airship stuff in dreams?
No, just hot air balloons. I know I've had a lot of dreams about maybe airplanes too, but I think usually no. Um, I'd say no.
And what about dreams where you are working through deep layers where you don't know anyone in your conscious life and they you're encountering other things that seem like they're not part of your dream. So other entities or
External.
beings, right, that seem conscious too, that seem sentient too.
Hmm. Let me think. So I would say I've definitely had dreams with people that I don't know or recognize. And upon waking, I always think like, "Oh, am I going to meet this person I saw in my dreams?" But I've never had an encounter where I dreamed about someone I didn't know and then I met them in real life, and then it triggered like, "Oh, I remember meeting you in my dream." Like I've never had that. As far as like creatures or beings go, like I don't have dreams about any kind of like shadow person or aliens. Like I don't have any kind of dream like that.
Do
Ha-
you
Sorry.
go, Jerry?
Have you ever had any encounters with entities like that, like a shadow person? or flannel man.
No, I mean, I would say I've seen maybe one or two shadow people
Hmm.
on investigations, but I've never like Hat Man or never
A specific
any
entity.
aliens. Yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
cool. That's good. So you're not
So
bringing them home. That's a good thing.
yeah,
No,
that is
yeah,
good.
nothing follows me around.
Do you, on that note, do you have any do you have how do you protect yourself, let's say, from picking up attachments?
Well, I have I know on the PRS investigations, I've always had it was a Benedictine medal that I know Lorraine Warren had blessed and given me. So that was something that I always carried around, and I still, when I know I'm going out into an investigation, I take that with me. Other than that, I just have ways of, just kind of talking myself through it to where, I'm going to be protected. There's a white light around me. Nothing's going to harm me. So, as far as that goes, that's kind of my methods.
And you don't feel you've ever picked up any attachments so far?
No, never, and in Paranormal State, I think I was the only person that didn't have anything follow me home, because a lot of our members at one point they lived in a house together, and after one of the really really serious cases, they all had things happen to them, and yeah, I've never had anything follow me home, which is good.
Yeah, that is good. It makes me wonder also, do you have where are you now within like the whole spirituality spectrum?
I would say I'm definitely spiritual. Um, yeah.
So no slant, no like new age or Wicca or cat
No
what do you,
specialization.
no
No,
specialization. So you're just
no.
open.
Yeah, I'm open.
What about, okay, so back in dreams, what about deja, so like this kind of deja vu is one question, and then off of that is precognitive stuff, dreaming true.
Oh, so when it comes to precognitive dreams, I have never I've never had any dreams that come true. Most of the time my dreams don't make sense. So if they did come true, I think it would be very odd. But as far as like precognitive dreams, no, I've never had one. And I have had bouts of deja vu a lot. And oftentimes it's from when I was very young. And I remember a lot of times it would be when I'm outside, playing in the grass or just like running around in the woods, which, goes back to my connection with nature. But deja vu is definitely something I've experienced a lot in my life.
When you have deja vus, what's the deja vu experience like for you as you experience it?
There'll just be a certain object or some action that I'm performing where I just stop and I'm like, this is so familiar. And then it's almost as if I relive the old memory that's like hidden in my unconscious mind.
And is that what you think is going on with
What do you
deja
mean?
vu? Well, what do you think's actually going on? Do you think that it's something you're reliving, or a possible time alternate timeline, something you dreamed in the past that you're just now coming into? And most deja vus, as most people know, are mundane things like walking into a
Hmm.
room, or they're not like major events. They just feel so wonderful.
Yeah, and so familiar. But yeah, I would say uh maybe maybe just a recollection of like something I did a long time ago, or like even a past life. I like exploring that idea.
Yeah, I do too. To me, it's all on the table.
Hmm.
I stay really open with stuff. So,
Yeah.
with the idea of past lives, do you? What is your idea on like this whole reincarnation, or even? And here's some of the woo, like alternate timelines where it's other yous, but simultaneously.
Oh, see, that like messes with my head when I think about that. I don't even know how to talk about that when we think about alternate
Like,
me's.
just
Like,
think of it as past lives, but they're happening right now.
yeah,
Because time
I'm
really is,
definitely
an illusion. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm open to the idea of past lives, and I've thought about that a lot. Um, it's a really neat thing to think about. As far as like alternate timelines, I don't really know how to explain that.
Well, there's a lot of good sci-fi around the idea that's made some pretty good, well, really some excellent shows like Fringe and some others. It seems like they're everywhere now for people who have the time to watch them.
Oh, just watch. What's a good example? Any of the DC comic ones, TV shows that are on CW, like Flash or Arrow, they're they're exploring multiple Earth dimensions right now. There's infinite Earths, and they can travel between them.
It is fun to think about, if we connect to other dimensions during the dreaming state.
Do you so with ghosts, so in particular with ghosts, do you what do you think they are? I'm sure there's like a myriad, and this is of course shows about your opinion, especially since you're in the field. But
Mhm.
this does play right into altered states of consciousness and dreams. So what do you think are the different characterizations of the ghost experience?
Um, I would say residual energy, like it's all a replay of something tragic that has happened in the past. That something steps in and triggers it, or it connects with something, and it goes off like a almost as if like a rerun of a TV show.
So do you not think that the ghosts have, and so residual energy, do you think there are ghosts out there that are kind of like, mm, I don't know, free agents where they're actually not residual energy, they're actually somehow think they're still alive and living their life?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that in a way, I think.
It's hard, this stuff's also
Yeah.
speculative. It's
I
all
know, like, that's why when I get asked these questions, I'm like, "Man, everything's just such a working theory." It's kind of like everybody can have their own, everybody has different experiences with it, so it's like everybody has their own ideas. So it's
yeah.
neat to hear what everybody, collectively thinks.
Yeah. I like that too. I also notice there's the idea of, I don't know if you know what a tulpa is.
Oh, I can't remember.
Where we
It's not a
create
quiz.
yeah, it's definitely not
Yeah,
your
right.
Heather, it's all right. It's but
Damn
where
it.
we where we collectively
It's a thought form
create
made physical. How's that?
Oh, okay, okay.
yes, but fueled by like I think Thin Man's one, fueled by the collective psychic energy of a lot of people that feeds it into it and gives it an energy where it then becomes,
Manifest.
manifest and semi-sentient because of the amount of energy going into it.
Right, it's almost like, do you guys remember reading about the Philip experiment?
I don't know. I don't think I do. Will you give us
Um,
the gist?
I think like the Toronto, it happened in Toronto, the psychical research group up there. I think it was called SPR. I can't remember the name of it, but they got a group of people and they collectively created this poltergeist named Philip with a backstory and everything. And they collectively would try to, make it appear in a thought form. It's really interesting. There's articles about it. But when I would study, poltergeist, that was always one thing we always talked about. It's the Philip experiment.
Was it successful at times?
Yeah, from what I remember, it was.
So, okay, and now so pulling all this into the dream, have you encountered things that seem more uh nefarious or demon-like in the dreamscape?
Honestly, no. And it's surprising because with the work I've done, you think that I would have, but I've never had dreams like that. The most like violent dreams I've had involve like someone getting shot or like me, running through a maze and escaping someone trying to kill me or something like that. But I've never had like a demonic presence in my dream at all. Even like on Paranormal State, we stayed like seasons 1 and 2, we oftentimes we stayed in the client's house
Yeah.
overnight,
Yeah.
which was very interesting, because uh, we're sleeping over, we're living in their house where they experience these things, and your mind would tend to wander, especially if you were sleeping in someone's room where, suicide just happened or something really horrible happened. And a lot of times I remember having strange dreams of, things happening when I was staying in a client's house. It was really haunted.
Do you are you are you empathic or psychically inclined?
No, I'm not. I'm pretty good at like sensing energies, but I would not consider myself psychic. Like I've never been able to use that ability.
Yeah.
I'd like
It's,
to though.
yeah.
Everybody's psychic.
Right. Well, it's just a muscle. You learn how to
Right.
turn the clairs on,
Mhm.
the
Yeah, I've never
clairaudience,
been able to tap
sentience.
into it.
That just takes work. What about so
And
and then
mushrooms.
well, I mean there are there are many routes. There are infinite amount of ways to get to a checkpoint in time, like death. And everyone's going to go there. uh, so anyway, I'm cracking myself up. So with this though, and I think I derailed myself too. Isn't that funny? I gaslighted myself.
All right, my turn then.
Go, Jerry.
So what have you had any really crazy paranormal experiences that were just like, I don't know, mind blowing?
Oh yeah, I mean, the one time we were doing this case in Oregon where this lady was seeing a headless ghost that would pass between her hallway. And we did some research on the previous owners, and one of the previous owners was driving, along the coast, and he was drinking, and he drove over this cliff and repeatedly rolled his car, and in the process of him crashing, his head got decapitated, and it actually fell into the passenger's lap, and then it hit the door and fell out of the car.
Oh my
So
God.
she was seeing this ghost, and some of the other activity that would happen was she felt like she was constantly being watched. She had been touched, she had heard voices. And I remember during dead time, which is when we try to communicate with whatever may be in the house, I was isolated, and I was in the bathroom because that was a hot spot for activity. So I was in the bathroom with my camera, and I had one camera on the wall that was hitting me while the other group was in the living room. And I remember just standing there, and I'm not sure, I can't really recall what the other team was talking about, but something one of them said, or a question that they asked after it happened. I was just leaning, and you could see this all on film. I'm leaning against the sink, and all of a sudden I look to my arm, and something touched my arm
Mm.
enough for me to bend it. And I never had anything like that happen to me before, but it wasn't hot, it wasn't cold, like I don't really have any description for it, but something like physically touched my arm, and my reaction was to bend it. And I looked, nothing was around me that could have naturally caused that. I had it from two different camera angles. So that, when I think of like incredible experiences, that's one that really stuck out to me.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to ask, which is I could wait for later if you want.
No, go, Jerry.
What kind of paradigm shift was it for you to go from like Paranormal State to Alien Highway?
Oh, it was definitely interesting because, when you're in a haunted house or a building, when something happens, you have that ability to go into the next room and actually
Mhm.
investigate. Whereas with these UFO investigations, we see things in the sky. Sure, we can use satellite tracking systems to try to figure out, was that a satellite, what a plane looks like, shooting star, and all that. But a lot of times we'd see things, and you can't really get up there to investigate
Yeah,
it. So
it's
it's just
just a
kind of
light.
like, okay, now I'm just thinking, what was that?
Mhm.
So that was very different for me. And of course, too, environmentally, there was a lot of environmental factors being outside, with UFO investigations, and from Alien Highway, we put ourselves in some pretty dangerous situations in dangerous areas of the world.
Area 51?
And
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
worrying about wild animals, like
Hmm.
that's something that was always on my mind, because we were in areas where there could have been mountain lions and wolves.
Sure.
So I don't want to encounter wild animals. Just to me, that's more scary than, encountering a ghost or even probably an alien.
Didn't you filmed one that just kind of appeared with the,
Yeah, we did. That was at Skinwalker Ranch.
yeah, right.
Yeah, just a couple miles from there in the Uinta Basin. We set up these trap cams because we interviewed a local who he was out there just looking, for activity in the sky, and he looked over and he saw in the middle of the road this gigantic wolf creature that he described as just like an abnormal gigantic wolf, which is, something that is a part of the Skinwalker legend,
Hmm.
the shape shifting wolf. So we went to that area, and it was an area where in that area of the Uinta Basin, there's a lot of oil tankers that drive by because they burn oil in that area, and there's a lot of facilities that has something to do with oil. So we set up a trap cam around that corner, and there weren't really a lot of houses near there. There was like one house, and we checked, they didn't have any dogs or anything, but we set up these trap cams, and you could see where the cars would come around the turn and where it would trigger the camera, and you'd see where it appeared. And it happened for like every single one. And then all of a sudden, we were reviewing the footage, and in the middle of the road just appears what looks like a wolf. It looked like it was too small to be a coyote. It didn't look like someone's dog. It didn't look like a wild dog. It looked like a wolf had just appeared. And we were like tripping out, like watching this footage because we reviewed it when we got it from trap cams. We put it in the computers and we started to review it. And we got like 168 hits on one and like 60 some on the other camera. But we couldn't even believe it because it just appeared right in the middle of the street.
Right. It was walking towards the camera in the middle of the street in the snow.
Yeah, it was just strutting along like out of nowhere. So yeah, that's something that we still talk about. Me and the guys still talk about like
Yeah.
what was that?
That was definitely one of the coolest things on that season. That
Yeah.
and the red lights at one of the last episodes. I forget where that was. I think that was Area 51 episode rather.
It might have been the red light. Which one did we see that on? I keep thinking that was Arizona, but I think Arizona was like the flash of light we saw.
I'll have to watch it
I
again.
don't remember either.
It's cool. It's cool. It's fascinating. As I was talking before the show about how I think there's a convergence of paranormal and ufology and cryptids somewhere. There's some common denominator. And
Yeah, I think it's just all mixed somehow, but I don't have an explanation for as to how. But it seems like people that, we talked to a lot of cattle ranchers that would see these lights in the sky, and then they would go into their house and they'd have like real crazy paranormal activity.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of it just ties in, and some people have a connection with seeing, Bigfoot and UFOs. So it's.
I was just going to say that. Did you know that there's a lot of paranormal activity surrounding Bigfoot sightings as well?
Oh
And
yeah.
last year I had talked to, I forget the guy's name, but he runs the Bigfoot Center here in Georgia. He was telling me that he had been told stories by several people that they had seen floating Bigfoot.
Whoa.
That was, like ghost Bigfoot.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Which just
Yeah, I've
makes it
never
even.
met anyone that's seen that.
Yeah, it's just crazy stuff out there. So I think one of the common, so there's that, like, I think there's that common denominator between all of this stuff, but it always is attached to consciousness.
Yeah.
So there's a consciousness element to it. So I don't know. It's interesting.
It's crazy too because now that I've done Alien Highway, I've been invited to a lot more of like the cryptid cons, which before I just did the strict like ghost events, like paranormal ghosts,
Right.
But now I'm getting more into that world of Bigfoot, and I've been on like one Bigfoot investigation, but I'm not really like into Bigfoot as much as I am, the aliens and ghosts.
Sure.
So it's like really different for me, but it's very exciting. I like I like talking with the people that are real into it, and they go on investigations, and I'm really into hearing about their stories.
We know a few. One of our friends, Josh Cutchin, is an author who wrote a book, writes about how he compares like UFO stories to fairy lore and cryptid stories to fairy lore, and he finds a lot of correlations between them. And I think his whole idea is that the UFO phenomena today is just like the new facade on whatever fairies are. Like say like 200 years ago, you'd have fairies would be bothering people and stealing their kids and offering them, all the things that fairies used to do, right? ET does the same thing, but just they look like grays now instead of fairies.
Right. That's an interesting comparison.
Yeah.
So the others are still part of our experience. Yes. We're just seeing them. We're calling them masks. Different. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very cool. All right, I'm done.
Well, it's all flowing. On this note, though, Heather, have you walked away with these investigations? Have you walked away with a change in your perception about, say, aliens and the ET phenomena?
I would say, yeah, definitely with Alien Highway, because, we talked to pilots that, American airline pilots that would see these things, these lights that they couldn't explain flying above them when they were already like 35,000 feet in the air. So it just opened up my eyes that, normal people, every kind of person is seeing things that they can't explain. And then it was really amazing to get to go to Corona and to go to Roswell and talk to, in one of our episodes, we actually talked to the older brother of Dee Proctor, who of course was with Mac Brazel when they came upon the debris on the ranch. And just hearing his thoughts about, and hearing, about his mom telling the story about how, they had some of the debris, and people, once this happened in 1947, they had the military came to town and questioned everybody, and Mac Brazel was threatened. And so to hear, this from a pretty good source that's, pretty well connected to the Roswell crash, was pretty neat to confirm, because I think there's a lot of rumors when it comes to Roswell, and one of the big ones was that the Proctors kept some of the debris, and we had Sandy Proctor kind of clear that rumor right away, because it's one of the questions I think Chuck could ask, like, so did you guys have the debris? And he's like, no, like, no one kept it or anything. But
why would they tell you?
Yeah, right. I was thinking that too, like, sure about that, but he kind of acted irritated that people thought that they had the debris. He was like, that's ridiculous. So, but I don't know. But it was really cool, because Sandy Proctor actually said that Stanton Friedman's account of, that he wrote the crash at Corona was it never really varied from the story. So it was like it was very true to the actual occurrence.
And it matched the Corsi book, Corsi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. 1947 was a year of enormous fuckery.
Yeah.
All around.
So much stuff. Yeah. 1947. It's unbelievable. Really,
but yeah, I mean,
and it's sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, being on these investigations, and especially the investigations that incorporate cattle mutilations, where these cattle are killed in such mysterious ways, where there's no signs of struggle. There's there's surgical incisions, there's no blood. It's really hard to tell how these animals died. And their deaths are usually accompanied by lights in the sky. Hearing stories about that from ranchers was really eye-opening, because there's a lot of ranchers all across the Midwest that experience this, and they lose a lot of their cattle, and they're kind of left with no answers from, the police. There's no answers from the vets. They're kind of like really, really frustrated. So it was really great to talk to them and hear their stories and kind of bring that to light. And I think our episode, it was called Murder on the Prairie. That was one of my favorite ones we filmed for Alien Highway.
Yeah, it was a good show. You've Linda Moulton Howe, right? She's been following cattle mutilations for years.
Yeah, oh yeah, I have never met her, but I've definitely read about her for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she's been really digging into it and has never found any answers. So
I mean,
it's
it's
just
really bizarre when you really think about it. Like,
it is, and it's it's not only cattle too. They find other animals that are
They find
mutilated in some way.
humans,
Yeah,
humans too, including Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, all surgical, no blood, and weird, weird narratives around her
yeah.
death.
It's those Antarctica Nazis.
But the human aspect to this in investigations, because they're so separate, uh, with very strange, like glands, pineal gland, and glands moved, surgical cuts.
mhm.
They just get filed under strange murders, and they don't get connected into this UFO thing. But yet, the MO is completely the same as there is if you look into the cattle mutilation. And so, for me, that's a point of inquiry. These are strange, mysterious things happening, and there's usually some weird phenomena around them both, and there's a connection for me, at least in my head, that as long as it's still open and a mystery, that's an avenue that should also be investigated. The 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 alien aspect, whatever, however that's getting attached to the cattle.
Yeah, like, are they using the cattle as, like, experiments is one of the theories I always hear a lot.
Yeah, and there's a lot with the glands and all that.
Mhm.
Which makes me think of like pharmaceutical companies doing it to test drugs, or the government testing like toxicity levels of whatever groundwater kind of things, where they would need to look at just the thyroid or something of an animal.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be weird if this whole time it was the pharmaceutical companies, like, trying to do
No,
what's on the
wait.
cattle?
Let's add another layer. What if there's like an ET race behind the pharmaceutical companies?
Oh,
Oh my
those,
gosh, yeah. That's a great speculation.
Let's
that's
just
what
keep
do you think
going.
Los Alamos is all about? Or not Los Alamos, what is it? Shit, the thing in Arizona with the God, I can't remember the name of it. Help me out here, Nish.
Oh, geez, Jerry.
Oh, what are you thinking of? In Arizona, you said?
Yeah, there's a base in Arizona where there was allegedly an alien fight with humans.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh man, I
I'll
can't. Somebody must probably in the chat. I'm not looking.
nobody's
I can't remember. I forget
So
things I should
there's so
remember.
much, Heather. There is so much.
Mhm.
So okay, so tying this back in a little bit,
Dulce
have
base.
you Dulcie?
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
Dulcie,
you.
yeah.
Yes, yes. We all know this. It's just at the at the tip of our tongue.
I think
Um,
is that in New Mexico?
no, that's Arizona,
It is?
right? New Mexico's Los Alamos, and
Same difference.
yeah, I mean it's all the desert area out there.
Yeah.
Where they blew up nukes years ago, allegedly.
Yeah, well, there's that whole connection too. We can dot connect all day. I love it. So what about your experience with this? And then I want to tie that into lucid dreaming.
Ooh. You cut out on the first part. I heard lucid dreaming.
Sleep paralysis. Have you experienced that?
Oh, yeah. I've had that happen to me 2 times in my life. The first time I remember I was very young. I was probably like 6 or 7, and I remember I was sick, and I was laying in bed with my mom watching Cops, and I don't even remember what I dreamt about, but I remember waking up and I felt like something was pinning me down and I couldn't, my diaphragm was paralyzed. I couldn't yell. I remember really wanting to yell and scream, but I couldn't. But at the same time, I think I remember watching Cops as this was happening.
At the same time as having the paralysis, so you
Yeah,
were. So wait, the scene was you're actually really watching Cops with your mom.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you went into a sleep paralysis.
Yeah, but I remember being asleep, and I remember upon waking, that's when I was watching Cops, and that's when I felt like I had to scream. But I don't
Yeah.
remember what I was dreaming about at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's classic. It can be so unnerving. What about the
Mhm.
other time?
So the other time I was in this was definitely after college, and it was during maybe like the third or fourth season of Paranormal State. I was lying in bed, and my dream was that I was kind of hovering above myself, and I could see myself laying on this couch. And I remember seeing this black, like shadow figure kind of creep around the couch and go to the other side. And it just kept going back and forth. And then I woke up.
And were you seeing it like in the periphery?
No, I was seeing it as if I was there. It was very strange. Very strange.
Ha-
Did it come off scary at all?
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
have you had any kind of astral projection experiences before that
No, never.
or since?
Mm-mm.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah, I'm not really sure how to explain
one thing I've heard
that.
people say is that the situation where you describe, you get the paralysis, you consciously above your body, and then you see a shadow person or entity or whatever. Um, I've heard people say that they think that is yourself waiting for you to complete your extradition from your body.
Mm, yeah. Huh.
I don't know how true that is. I think that's an interesting take on it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
but since then I've never had another one.
what about in your dreams? So in a dream, what about your lucidity content? Have you been able to have high content where you're aware that you're dreaming?
No. I've never been able to tap into that. I do remember I've had dreams where I've I woke up and I was like kicking. And I can remember what that I was kicking something in my dream. Like one dream I had pretty recent, like within this month. Uh so I lived down south for a while, and I lived near this gigantic lake where I could just see alligators every day. And I was really fascinated by seeing them. I could just watch them for hours. It's just because it was just something so different for me growing up in Pennsylvania. So I remember I started having more dreams that involved alligators. And just this past month, I had a dream where my friend and I we were trapped in this room, and there were these little alligators everywhere. And there was this one giant big one. And I remember my friend trying to stand on top of it and hold its mouth shut with like a broom or something ridiculous. And I remember it was trying to like bite at my legs, and I was kicking it. And I woke up kicking my legs.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah.
Is that so with that kind of experience though, because that's a good degree of connection to there's a good connection there. How often are you in that state where you wake up? How often are you in the state where you wake up and there's kind of a hangover from the dream?
Yeah, I've had that happen several times where you wake up and you're kind of like, "Did I just dream that?" And you kind of feel like you're still in that situation. It's almost sometimes shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's usually, I find, if you continue to push into it, like a future, you can get to a real sense of high lucidity. I have found for myself that usually whatever's going on with the stars or what I'm eating or whatever, that's usually like a sign that I'm I'm at least ready for it, because I find often when I'm trying to lucid dream, a lot of times I can't. And I'm working on this. I think everyone does. And then I always find myself accidentally lucid dreaming. It's like, oh man, I'm awake. And then move into it. It's one of those weird things. Like the more I want it, the less it happens.
Hmm. Do you guys ever try to? Have you like got a book that kind of explains how to tap into lucid dreaming, or you just kind of do it on
Oh,
your own?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read them all, and there's a million different ways to do it. And there's the Great Monroe
Right.
Institute and all the and HemiSync stuff that came out of that, and I mean, I've done everything from potatoes before bed to, I mean, just standing upside down. I mean,
Ah,
all kinds of stuff. And it seems, and there's nothing that has actually been a solid, it works every time for me. So at this point, I remain open and I listen to what other people are saying, but still, I come back to the fact that even though people are specializing in this and within some of the scientific branches, I still think there's some mystery here and am cautious of the experts. Let me put it that way. That saying, giving us expert theories and that this should work. And I don't know, because I really have made a lifelong passion out of this, and for me, at least, not one worked every time. So, did I robot out?
a little
Totally.
bit, yeah.
I did?
Yeah, you keep doing it. You always do.
Oh, man.
We just ignore it now.
Ugh, that sucks so bad. Really does. I have, like, the best internet here.
You're on
Okay,
Wi-Fi.
so anyway,
You're
what
excited,
about
and it affects the Wi-Fi.
I know, I get excited talking about it. But yeah, there's just so much theory out there still, and experts I'm just leery of experts in this field because of trying so many different things and paying. I paid for the HemiSync program, which was a lot of money and different experiences, and nothing's been a solid every time. What about have you had any experiences in your life with near death experiences or loss of consciousness through or even like a surgery where you're just forced out of your body?
No, I never. Um, I've only had one surgery, and I don't really remember having a near-death experience. I definitely didn't, die, but I've never had any experience like that.
I hear a lot of people that with surgeries, it's just like lights on, lights off.
Exactly, yeah, like, I remember going in and I'm all drugged up and they're wheeling me back into the hospital, and I didn't have my glasses on, and I'm pretty blind, so everything's just a huge blur to me, and then I remember they put me under these lights, and then they gave me more drugs, and I'm knocked out, and everything just fades. You see these giant circular lights above you, and then it just fades, and then you wake up and you're in pain.
Yeah, right. It's just like on off, like clap on, clap off. And
Yeah.
it's perplexing. You know what I find interesting about that stuff too are those circular lights, and they use them in the filming biz too, but they're just not above you usually.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there's something about that with like the whole death phenomena too, the circled light, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
often wonder, like, people that do have experiences when they've gone under a surgery and then they've had these experiences, and you hear them talk about the light on the ceiling. I just wonder how much of that is actually filtered through from what they're visually seeing physically.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
It's a ponder. So, okay, so all right, we got all that kind of stuff. What about in your contemporary life now? What are some crazy dreams that uh, are hanging around you? Do you have reoccurring dreams?
Um, See, it's weird. I feel like the only reoccurring dreams I have now are ones where I'm either investigating or I'm trapped in like a giant old like house. Maybe even a Victorian house. Maybe that's my connection to Victorian era or Victorian times. But it's always like I'm looking for something. That right now is pretty much the only reoccurring dream I have, which is it's pretty normal for me. Growing up, I had the reoccurring dreams with the eyeball and the leopard and everything. But yeah, I'd say in my modern life, that's kind of the only reoccurring dream. I can't really pinpoint any other recent dreams I've had that were really bizarre.
It's interesting. Just listening to you and a lot of what we've talked about tonight, your especially with the work you do, I get a big agnostic feeling from you. And and I'm saying this listening to like your dream experiences and all that, which is good because it is a sign of an open person, an open
Oh
mind.
yeah. Yeah.
And so you definitely don't feel and sound like you have like heavy programming from uh certain things, like religious programming that really steers a narrative. And
No, I really don't.
yeah, I'm not getting any of that. I didn't get it from any of the foundational stuff, so that's cool. And it's interesting in a way because there's not a lot of drama around your dream life and uh your other world, which is the dream experience. So
No. It's as if it's all just fun, and even in my real life, there's no drama. It's always just I make everything fun. So it kind of reflects my dreams in my life.
And I think that's an important thing too, is if you don't approach it as a chore.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's something interesting to do, and I'm sure you don't have a lot of preconceived notions about religious connotations to things like, oh, I'll get possessed.
No.
Those kind of thoughts, I think, make you more susceptible to that kind of shit. Believe it or not.
It's funny, right? When you said that, I had
Mhm.
this weird, like, glitch happen in my phone that I've never experienced. It was almost like a buzzing, like a really loud buzzing noise. Did you guys hear that?
I heard something, yeah.
I heard
That
it.
was weird.
It's the only time you went out for me, it was like a buzzing roboting.
Mhm. I heard like
So on that note though, possessions, what do you think's going on with that whole phenomena from where you stand?
Well, when I think of possession, I think of a person that got involved with something very negative. They brought it into their life. Um, it's not something that I think happens to just anybody. I think a lot of the times it's like attracts like you bring it into your life by either, you know, the occult in some form or way or by, you know, summoning it yourself. But I definitely from the work I've done on Paranormal State, I believe in evil. I definitely believe there is evil and that people have the ability to get possessed.
Have you had any experiences around it?
Myself with me.
Well, with encountering, so obviously on your shows you're dealing with disincarnate stuff.
Mhm.
But have you had any experiences with people around you, and this could be in the periphery of your shows, that claim to have been possessed or that you thought may possibly be showing symptoms of possession?
Oh, yeah, let me think back because a lot of those were our early cases. One that sticks out to me, um, there was this guy, and this is one of our later cases. I think it was called Satan's Soldier. And it was this guy that started having all this like really weird activity happen and in his house. And he kind of revealed to us, and we didn't really know this, but we saw some things in his house that kind of triggered us to think this. But he admitted to devil worship when he was younger. He would rob graves and he cut a deal with the devil, um, where he was supposed to get other people to join him in worshiping the devil, and he would get his reward would be money and women if he could get these people to worship with him. And he kind of revealed that, and then everything kind of clicked together. And the possibility that he was still practicing and hasn't let go of his past with this, I think, really affected what he was experiencing in our investigation. That's something that I don't even know if what I said made sense to your question, but it's something that just kind of popped into my head.
Oh, no, it totally ties in. This is so also, so tying this in, and the idea of how much overlap there is with dream and memory, and these states of consciousness, and possession falls into that. What are your ideas around what do you think happens when you die? So you believe in reincarnation, we got that, but
Hmm.
what do you think, like, what do you think, is there a transition that happens between, like, one life to another? Is there, like, there's a million different ways to look at it. What do you think goes on?
I think in my perfect world, I think that I like to think that when you die, you see, you're in this really nice room, you're with people you want to be around, and you get to watch your whole life on this giant screen be replayed back, and you can fast forward and rewind your favorite parts. That's always something I think that's really bizarre, but that's always something that I thought would happen when you die. But no, I definitely believe that there's certain objects and items that people could get connected to, and they could, reappear in another form as that object. I've definitely thought of that.
Or how about use it as a tether to come back, or to
Hmm.
manifest their consciousness here in some kind of energy field.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Have
think that
you
that's
do you have I don't know how much death you've been around in your life. So, and then this question's kind of rests on that. But in in your life, and this includes animals, have
Mhm.
you had dreams of anyone you know that died before they died, or, like, say, before you knew about it and found out?
No, and I've met so many people, like, when I go to these events, I one of the last events I went to, I remember a woman coming up to me, and she told me she has these really vivid dreams with people she knows and people that she doesn't know, but she later meets, where they die. And in the exact way she dreams that they die, it ends up happening like maybe like a week later, sometimes a month later. And I've never had anything like that happen to me, but she kind of didn't know what to do with it because it's something she couldn't really control. And I was trying to give her like as much advice as possible, but that's a really wild thing to think about if you could predict and have these premonitions and dreams about when people that you knew and people you even just saw on the street when they would die.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's so much. I'm so fascinated by this particular facet of it all. Have
Mhm.
you encountered, so after the fact, after a death has happened, of someone you know, or a pet, or someone you're connected to, even way in the periphery, have you encountered them at all later, past the death?
I think not in my dream world. Yes, I definitely like a dog that I had growing up. I would have reoccurring dreams about, but other than that, I wouldn't have any visitations from any loved ones that have died. I've never my dreams really, when I think about it, my dreams have never really carried any kind of message. It's almost like my dreams are an experimental film or like an art project when I think about it.
Yeah, well, you do have a lot of fantastic imagery,
Mhm.
so I've enjoyed those. So, with your dog experience, could you give us an example of how he or she, I don't know what it was, uh, would pop up in dreams? Would just let you know it's there? Do you have a relationship with it?
Yeah, I think I can recall having a dream. I had a dog. I had a Shih Tzu growing up named Bandit, and I got him when I was in 5th grade, and I had him probably like 5 years after college. So he was a part of my family. So it was really odd when he passed away, but I remember I got to spend a weekend with him, like when he was really sick, and it was almost as if when he was around me, he got this like burst of energy and he was a puppy again. And it was kind of like I knew it was the last time I was gonna see him. So I have had dreams where I would just be like in the yard running with him, or nothing like spectacular or anything, but just a dream where he was definitely present. And I woke up thinking, where's Bandit? Is he gonna like jump on my bed and lick my face? Like, but it was obviously a dream. So
Yeah, and see, that's the kind of stuff that I love, and I track, because it's basically, from what I gather from all the people I've talked to, I mean, it's just like the relationship picks up. It's like it never did anything. In the dream, you're
hmm
just like, there they are, and we're doing something mundane, and they're there, and they're part of it, and you're vaguely aware if you get the lucidity that, oh, in my waking life, this, the dog's dead, but here
Mm-hmm.
we are doing a normal thing in the dreamscape.
Yeah.
So I find that incredibly reassuring, and also, I don't know, just reassuring. Hello?
No, I was trying to think of how to phrase this next question.
I'm just thinking about my dog now.
Aw, Bandit.
That's it.
My neighbors have a dog named Bandit.
It's a good one. It's a good
He
name.
was cute. He kind of looked like Gizmo.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever
You said he
feed
was
him
a
after
Shih
midnight?
Tzu?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love those little dogs.
And he always did this thing where he would stand on his legs and he would like put his paws together and kind of like smack them in the air, and he would walk
Aw.
around and do that. It's really fun.
Aw.
I'm an animal person, so I love
Me
them.
too.
I'm a cat.
What was
I'm
your
a cat
question,
guy.
Jared?
Mothman. What do you think about Mothman?
Oh, Mothman, that's one of my favorite like cryptid cases for sure. I loved going to Point Pleasant and talking to the townspeople and hearing their stories.
Mhm.
It was pretty interesting. I really liked the idea that the town was cursed. Like I think it was called the Cornstalk curse,
Mhm.
where they cursed the land. And a lot of people
Right.
would attribute that to the creature.
Mm.
But yeah, it was. I think I can believe in that. Yeah, because when we were there, it was kind of like this thing that appears before tragedies and things, almost as if it was warning people. But as far as its kind of uh, origin of how it came about, I'm not really sure what to think of that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Keel stuff's very interesting. Which just reminded me of Hellier. Have you been following that?
No, I
Do you know
haven't.
Greg and Dana Newkirk?
I know of them, but I don't. I've never met them. I think I'll meet them. I think we're both doing the Michigan Paracon event
I
in
will be there.
August.
I will be.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I already bought my ticket.
I'll get to meet them there though.
Yeah, they're really cool. Greg and they're awesome. But Hellier is this YouTube video series about Kentucky goblins, caves. And
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it, I won't bug you about it, but you should watch it. It's free.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Stuff
How do
like-
you spell it?
Hellier.
Okay.
It's named for Hellier, the location.
Kentucky.
So
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And
Okay.
which is very close to Point Pleasant.
Okay.
Yeah, a
Have
lot
to check
coming
that
out of the caves and mines in that area of the states.
That reminded me of something else too. I was watching something last night, which researchers have correlated some of the David Paulides disappearance maps with cave systems in the United States. Like they pretty much overlap. So, there's something about caves. Something going on with the caves. We don't know.
Yeah. Hidden caves.
Not hidden. Just I don't. My personal thinking on the caves is that when you're in a cave, you're surrounded by stone or whatever type of mineral that is, and we know that minerals vibrate at a certain under compression. They vibrate and have a frequency,
Especially silica.
especially quartz, right? So I think that vibration, that frequency, somehow puts you in an altered state of consciousness where you can actually experience other things that are there.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's really fascinating.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got a question from the audience here.
Uh-oh.
Wants to know, what is your personal best sighting or experience?
Oh, personal best. Man, that's so hard because there's so many. How do I narrow it down?
Pick two.
Pick two. Okay. One time I was doing this case that was I believe it was in New Jersey, and I was in this house after production had left, and it was myself and one other investigator. And we kind of set up my camera as if we were just, we set up my camera and then we just kind of had a normal conversation. We weren't even talking about ghosts or anything. And we were just talking. And all of a sudden, right above us, we heard like four distinct footsteps to where I thought it sounded so real that I thought someone broke into the house because we were in a pretty bad neighborhood. So I just imagined like someone is in the attic above us. So we went up and checked. No one was there, and we went and reviewed the footage, and you could hear the footsteps, and I think it even made the episode. But then after that, me and the investigator, we went down. We went down into the kitchen, and all of a sudden we were just standing there, and I think that there was like a hole in the floor where this house used to be like a pharmacy or something. So we were just kind of talking about this hole in the floor, and then all of a sudden it sounded like something with force like slammed up against this basement door, and the door was locked. It was shut. It was locked, and we tried to debunk it. We had no way to figure out like what had caused this to happen. Like the door wasn't jammed or anything. It literally sounded like someone broke in the house and they were like slamming their body against the door to try to break in. And we were locked in this house and we investigated every room in the house. There was nobody else in the house but us. So that's an experience that really sticks out to me because I was more afraid of someone breaking in the house and like killing us or kidnapping us rather than it just being residual energy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried dowsing for residual energy?
No, I never have.
You should try that.
Yeah, I never got into that, but I could try it.
It's way easy, and you might be able to identify hotspots more quickly in a location.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
That's
I think we did, maybe it was Alien Highway that I did dowsing, maybe. I can't remember. I know on US Investigations I've never explored that option.
what about, so with all this stuff, what about that you've done? What are your thoughts on like energetic portals or vortexes?
Um
And grid lines.
I've definitely had some experiences in houses where there was just a particular area of the house where the clients felt like, there was more energy. Um, I can't remember. I wish I could remember exactly which episodes, but I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I don't really have any information to like back up experiences I've had with it, but I do remember being in certain houses where they felt like there was just a funnel of energy that would, be in a particular area of the house and we would have things happen.
Do you think it's possible that the act of dreaming is basically that a vortex or some sort of a portal in which your consciousness obviously moves through?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a possibility that through dreaming, we could be kind of exploring other dimensions, and connecting with them during the dream state, because, it's a time when our mind is more receptive to it.
And so with that said, what makes this waking reality, and this is all just your opinion, remember that. But what makes
Mhm.
waking reality more acute or seem more real, that we qualify it as reality, than say other states of consciousness? In particular, the easy one to go to is like dreaming, but even the act of memory is forcing yourself to go back and remember something that is vague or not clear, and you push your consciousness back that way. What's the nature of what makes reality seem like it's the big event?
Oh man, I wish I don't even know how to answer that question. Uh,
Well,
I know it is one of the big ones.
yeah,
have you had
I
lucid
don't
dreams?
really think.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was, I
What
was
was
going
it?
to clarify the question. Not clarify it, but just add to it. Think about some of the dreams you've had that seemed ultra real. What made those more real or less real than being awake? That kind of idea.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've had some pretty bizarre dreams. Like, uh, I don't know. I mean, I sometimes they can just mesh. But a lot of my dreams are so weird that I don't even know how to like interpret them at all.
Yeah, and and you kind of you spoke to that earlier. So like with the
Hmm.
reality question, like what I'm trying to get at is what do you think makes us all agree that this seems like it's the event rather than everything else, rather than a dream is not really the event. That's like something that's like a side event or something. The reality is we wake up and we have things we need to do. There seem to be apparent consequences if we don't, and the whole nature of reality. And I know that it's a big question. But it's again, I think there are no right or wrong answers, and that's why I just like personal opinions as to what reality is. And as we've tied it into this whole conversation tonight, it revolves around other states of consciousness like death and portals and paranormal stuff, residual energies,
Are we in a
dreams,
simulation?
memories. Yeah, what makes this real for you, Heather?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I mean, how do we? How do I don't know how to answer that. You got me. I'm like thinking. I'm going through like layers in my mind and thinking about all
Girl.
this and trying to connect it.
Yeah.
You're kind
Good
of
luck
blowing
with
my
that one.
mind right now. Yeah, I don't know if I could properly answer that in a way that would make sense. Would it even make sense? Like, I
It,
don't know.
I think
Well,
if
that
it,
and what
go ahead.
this is what makes it so juicy, and this is one of the things that I contemplate a lot, and there's been a lot I've had a lot of death around me. I usually come in and announce it. I didn't even announce I just had another friend die. Uh,
Oh,
but well, here's the ponder though, what where are they? And for that matter, where am I? What's separating us? What's separating the consciousness? Yes, obviously they're not in their body. I can't call them up and say, "Girl, you want to go for a pizza?" Like, like stuff like that. But psychics say they can do that. And so, what's the difference, though? How is it that we ascribe so much energy and attention into this perceived reality where where the attention that we're putting into it, the energy we're putting into it really is consequences. So like
hmm.
if I cut myself and the consequences, I'm going to bleed, it's going to hurt, I might have to get stitches, stuff like that. Or if I don't pay the house mortgage, the bank's going to come and take it. So the energy is predominantly, in my observation of reality, based on consequences of not doing something or not prescribing to something or not playing the game. And so that's what seems to make it more real than, say, in the dreamscape.
Hmm.
But emotionally, in dreams, I can completely, no matter how crazy they are, I'm still emotional in them. I still will cry if I see someone I love that maybe just died or something is intense. I can die, I can hurt, I can have fun. I love flying around. There's all of that other stuff, but the consequences don't seem as acute. It's like, well, I don't have to, in my dreamscape, I don't have to pay mortgage, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
So, well, at least I don't think I do. But here you have to pay rent or a mortgage, and if you don't, then you become homeless,
Hmm.
like in this reality. So I'm just trying to parse out, why is our consciousness shifted so heavily here? And then the difference, just summing it up, is that I notice it seems to be based on consequences of action.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There's so many. I feel like there's just so many layers to it when you think about it.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
it's why it's one of the great questions
Mm-hmm.
philosophically. It's why, it fuels a lot of it's fueled a lot. I mean, from Plato, it's all back there, and it's great literature and great sci-fi and all. I like to hear individual people's take on reality. Just, it fills in, it starts to be more of a matter of cohesion between people that aren't, more normal people, instead of just like Plato, instead
Mm-hmm.
of just like Hermann Hesse, instead of like these, what are considered the great thinkers of times. If we just all start talking as standard people, about either how mundane we think it is or how real we think it is, it fills in these great massive chasms between the great minds. So that's what I was going at. So that's a ponder. And it's really just tied into, what do you think the difference is between a dream and a memory? Can you tell the difference when you think back to your early dreams and then possibly early memories you had? Is there a big difference there?
I wouldn't say too much of a difference, because a lot of times I felt like I've had dreams of past memories in a way where I could remember them pretty vividly.
Have you ever been to the Zaffis Museum?
No, I've never been in it. I know where it's at in Vegas because I used to go to Vegas a lot for
I
work,
thought it was
but
in Connecticut.
I never. No, it's in Vegas. I
Oh,
never got the chance to go.
the creepy dolls there, right? Annabelle.
No, Robert is there.
Who's
Robert the
who's got
doll.
Annabelle?
Annabelle is still in Connecticut at the Warren's Museum,
A
as
Warren.
far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought John had inherited all of their museum stuff.
I think that's a rumor. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that Lorraine's son-in-law, Tony Spera, he and Nespar, they still have the doll in the museum.
I wouldn't want that thing in my house. I wouldn't want Robert in my house.
I think
Yeah,
it's so funny that it's a Raggedy Ann doll.
I know. What's really funny is we used to do some events with Lorraine where she would bring some of her haunted items to the museum on the road. And we'd go to like a haunted house for Halloween and we'd have these like little things where people could come and see the items. So it was really a funny image to me to see people that worked for her like carrying Annabelle up the stairs in this glass case, wearing these like work gloves and trying not so hard not to drop the doll. Like, that's always so funny to me.
The Newkirks have a traveling paranormal museum too.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if they were going to bring it up to Michigan, but they've got.
Yeah, it looks so cute. They've got like a really cute tent display. It's really cute.
That the one thing they have, the African. I can't remember what
Oh
it was.
yeah. It's an African totem. I can't remember what you call it either,
I can't
Jerry.
either. Was it Billy?
They named it Billy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. So someone had given them this. It's an African idol. I'm reading quickly to find it. I can't remember what it was. What type of idol it was.
It's like a
Yeah.
fetish. It's like a fetish that you would
Yeah.
feed and all that.
Oh, okay. Okay. I've heard of that.
And they brought it into their house, and he started having dreams about it, scary dreams. I don't remember the whole build up to it, but basically at some point he decided, I'm not scared of you anymore, and it became a familiar.
Well, he
Oh,
decided to treat it like it would be treated by the tribe.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
He started feeding it properly, which you do with these things, and
uh-huh.
giving it to, like, I think he was giving it tobacco and some sort of alcohol, and then it came down into not a scary figure in his dreams, but it
A
morphed
friendly,
into
a friendly, informative one that he communicates with.
and a
Oh.
human, and not like demon-esque scary thing.
But he's gotten EVPs from it and things. It's really interesting. So that's in their museum.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to have those kind of items around me.
If it was a cool
Are
thing,
you superstitious on us now? You weren't this whole show.
No, I'm just like, I'm thinking about, I'm just thinking about it. I got to thinking about like Ed and Lorraine's museum and how many crazy haunted items they have there. I don't think I'd want to have to be around that like every day or travel with that, because I remember being young and like driving around to go to like on investigations, and my friends and I would always have our Ouija board in the back. And I swear, every time I decided to take the Ouija board, I would get pulled over by the cops for some weird reason. Like most of the time, for no reason at all. They would pull me over. And then it ended up that they would see the Ouija board and then they just start telling me stories about how they had an experience with the Ouija board and how this and this and this happened. But I was always really superstitious about collecting Ouija boards and having them in my car. And I used to collect them. I used to have some really cool old wooden ones from like the 30s and 40s.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, this one specific one that I had, it was in my friend's basement and he had given it to me. And I remember when I took it into my new place, really bad things started to happen just in my life and in general. And I decided to get rid of it.
Have you ever met Robert Murch?
Yes. Yeah. I've met him before. He has quite the collection.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a really cool guy. I met him at an event a long time ago.
I think I met him 2 years ago at CryptidCon. But yeah, it was very cool. Interesting guy.
Yeah.
More question. I what it was.
Do you have any superstitions? So we just got the one with the Ouija board, but do you have any other kind of like folkish superstitions?
None that I can think of. No, I can't really think of anything besides having a Ouija board in my car.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so from everything that, everything we've talked about tonight, which is also, I think, must be great having you on a team, because you're not that person that's front loaded with everything, and you're not that person that's superstitious
No.
and all that, which is good. I think you're a good balancing person to the people that maybe are.
Yeah.
And then, so do you do anything like, since you did the Ouija board and you did it early on, did you ever play around with tarot? Do you play with tarot?
I do have 2 pretty cool tarot decks. I've messed around with it. I have like a little book on how to do it. I've had some pretty dead on accurate readings, which is what made me kind of want to explore it. But I'm not very good. I don't have every card. Like I still don't know every card and everything. That's something I would like to eventually get better at. But I have some decks that randomly I'll pull out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The tarot's a great tool. So is the Lenormand, which is, and for people that the Lenormand is so much easier. So you don't have to like intuit. You don't have to like kind of fill it in with intuition and all that. It's basically you read the Lenormand like you do a sentence. So it's pretty straightforward. The house card is, you'd read that like that's the house. You'd have to be like, this is my spiritual house. And it's pretty straightforward. And that's a great place or a great conjunction to ease into tarot, actually. So just throwing that out in case you don't have a Lenormand deck. That is, I love Lenormand. I love the tarot. I've been reading tarot since I was very young, but
Oh, cool.
the Lenormand deck is a good place for people that I just think you should check them out. That's what I'm saying.
I'll look into that.
Get a thought deck. That's what
my long trying to get that out. But do you have so I'm wondering, how is it that how can people get a hold of you? And before we get to there, what do you have on deck that's coming out here in the future?
Well, right now, so Alien Highway didn't get renewed for a second season.
Aww.
So I know it's a total bummer. I feel like we had really, really like super good ratings. So I don't know if they feel like their UFO shows don't do well in general. I don't know, but the whole time the show was premiering, we got like excellent feedback. So we were all really surprised, thrown off guard. We were already planning for a season 2 because we thought it was going to happen. But so that's unfortunate. But I mean, it was a super fun experience, and I'm grateful for it. And I've had a couple ideas for other shows that I've pitched with people. So I think right now it's just kind of waiting, because I think a lot of the shows are getting, it's just
Cheesy?
like the same thing. Yeah, it's like the same thing over and over again. So I'm always constantly trying to think of like different ideas that haven't been done. So there's exploring that. Next year I'm booked for quite a few events already, all across the US. And right now I'm working on getting my website up, and I'm going to try to go back to doing some investigations, just like consulting over the phone with families and people that are having things going on in their home, like pretty much like the early days of Paranormal State, which is what we used to do. We used to just take phone calls from people and do like extensive phone interviews. So I'd like to get back into that. But I mean, I'm on every form of social media. My Twitter and Instagram handle is Classic Tad, and you can of course find me on Facebook. I'm usually pretty responsive to messages. I still get a lot of messages about Paranormal State and Alien Highway, so I really try to respond to everybody and hear everybody's stories and look at everybody's pictures. So I love talking to people that have watched the shows, and in general, people that are really weird and are into the paranormal.
You could always write a book.
I've thought about that, and I actually started one a long time ago, but I kind of never really went anywhere with it. But you're right. I could.
I mean, like with your experiences, things that people don't generally know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
A thought.
Yeah.
But I put all those links in the description for everyone who's listening.
Awesome. Yeah.
And they'll be in the show notes.
Yeah. Cool.
And plus, as we opened up, and as we know, even though you're on a hiatus, I mean, you got the rock cred, the punk rock cred.
Yeah.
She's got a band and all
Heck
that.
yeah.
So, I mean, come on. Yes.
I know how to rock.
The rock light is on.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone come up to MI Paracon next August. That's going to be a blast. Tenny's
I'm
going
really
to be there.
excited for that. I'm excited to see Chip and everything and everybody. And there's still like I've never met there's still so many people there. I've never met John Tenney. I've never met him. I've never met Amy Bruni.
John
just people
Tenney
who
was
think
a great Nox Mente episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually listened to it. It was really great. He seems super intelligent. I'm really excited to meet him and just have a conversation with him.
Me too. I'm going to wear the t-shirt I made with him on it to that.
Oh, nice.
And
Nice.
MJ is going to be there, I think, too. MJ Dixon.
Nice.
She's very cool. She's very cool.
We love her.
She's haunted.
It's
awesome.
Oh my God. Yeah. So many great. I'm happy to have you amongst all these great people we've had on, Heather. This has been a treat.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you for making time for us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I feel like I'm getting sick, so my voice is kind of raspy, and my mind is like all over the place. So hopefully this made for a good episode.
Oh, it was great.
Your voice sounds great. It's definitely sounds good. I love like sick voices are the next day from a drinking experience. It's always like kind of sultry. So
I think we should try and crowdfund an Alien Highway season 2.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be great. There's just so many places to go that you can still go, especially like in the UK. There's just so many places we need to go.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's definitely not tapped. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Just think of like Eastern Europe, Romania, and Bulgaria, and all those types of places.
Oh, tons of like dark places around Poland and and Prague.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks, Heather. It was great talking to you. Thanks, Nish.
Yeah, great talking to you guys too.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And next week, we will not be live, but we'll be running a new show with Derek Hunter, who is, was it Chaos Love is his website?
Love Chaos. And he's got a lot of other stuff, but those are his books right now. And we're doing it for the first time ever as like a premiere. So I'm actually going to be in the chat when it goes on. We've never done a premiere. And I'll be driving to Chicago. So for the first time ever, I'll be in the chat. Under Nish, because I don't do Vox's Nate. That's always Jerry.
But you could be.
I could be. Maybe I will be.
Maybe you will. If you can remember the password right.
I know. Details.
Anyway, thanks everyone for listening and have a great night. We'll see you next week.